Now, in the UFC, you often don't see these types of matchups, but today we got one, my man. And it's in this one division that it seems like it just won't go away. We pronounced it dead months ago, but somehow, some way, it keeps making its way back. So let me bring it up, my man. We have Felicia, the Phenom Spencer, women's featherweight matchup. She's a minus 300 favorite with the plus 240 comeback versus LEAH LETSON, my man. Neatus is her nickname. I don't really know what that means, but LEAH LETSON. If you see the photo right here, if you're watching, folks, if you're listening, I will describe it. It is it's like LEAH LETSON, right? Back in a couple years back when she was fighting out of Tough 28, the Ultimate Fighter. If you don't know what that is, and for those who are watching, you can clearly see. I mean, this is like an old photo. You know what I mean? It's like, where did we dig this one up from? LEAH LETSON has not fought in 3 years, my man. Listen, she's 5-1 in her MMA career. She's technically 1-0. In the UFC with the win over Julia Stolyarenko or Julija or however you would like to say that. But nonetheless, my man, this is somebody who, needless to say, shouldn't be in the UFC. I don't know, man. She had like an interesting fight against Macy Chasson in Tough. She lost that fight. She got finished. I don't know, man. It's just an interesting one to me because AJ, this is Bellator vibes written all over it. I don't want to discount or dismiss anybody, but if you're Felicia Spencer, how do you go from fighting Cyborg for a championship, fighting Nunez for a championship, or I don't know if I think Cyborg might have been for a championship, but you fought two of the best to do it in that weight class. Norma Dumont, you got a split decision loss on that one, right? So you go from fighting basically the top 3 fighters in the division and then LEAH LETSON. How did this happen? Where are we going with this division? Is this a good sign or a bad sign to you, AJ? Because all this is telling me is that they want to keep this alive long enough to potentially sign Kayla Harrison, and if she doesn't come over, you got to pronounce it dead. What are we talking about? What do you think?
That's exactly what I was thinking, Derek. That's what it feels like they're setting up. They're just kind of like, yo, we just need bodies. Yeah. Anybody that wants to fight in the 145 women pound division, please come on. We need people. We need people, especially trying to sign up that Kayla Harrison fight. Honestly, I think LEAH LETSON could be fighting a weight class down. I know their weight classes in the Tough, in the Ultimate Fighter, they're a little off because they're not consistently cutting weight for however many weeks it is, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever it is. So they have to fight those weight classes above. A lot of the time we'll see them come into the UFC and then drop down to what their normal weight class would be, depending on how you want to consider that. But I do think this is kind of one of those gimmies for Felicia Spencer where they're like, all right, hey, yo, you've done us a lot of favors. You had a very close fight against Norma Dumont. We're going to give you one. We're going to give you kind of LEAH LETSON to kind of see. And that's no disrespect to LEAH LETSON because she's absolutely a killer. She just hasn't fought in 3 years. It's just hard to say how good she is, how good she was. Or it's easy to say how good she was, but it's how good is she now that she's had that 3-year layoff. We've seen a lot of people either do amazing off of their time away or not so much, and they come back with a lot of ring rust. It's kind of up in the air. You don't really know where to go with this one. I do think they're just trying to get bodies in the count so that way we can sign up Kayla Harrison, sign up some big names to finally get somebody to fight Amanda Nunes that's actually deserving of it. What do you think, Derek?
Everything you said is spot on, my man. We haven't seen her in 3 years. It's a bunch of what ifs on this one. A lot of people, clearly the odds minus 300 for Spencer. They don't think that Letson really has a chance in this fight. But before we move on and actually break it down, I just have one last question in regards to the future of these fighters, man. Felicia Spencer, if you're the UFC, do you not just say, like, dude, just cut down to 135? Like, unless she can't make the weight class. But, like, I don't understand because there's no rankings for this weight class. You're not technically going to be fighting for a championship. Amanda Nunes, I just think that she's not going to be defending this featherweight championship again, unless it's going to be just like a layup, you know what I'm saying, where she's like, all right, let me just get this girl out of here so I can go defend my 135 or whatever. I just don't see it happening. I don't understand. It feels like these are pointless fights. It doesn't feel like there's anything at stake. That's really what it comes down to for me. Are we fighting for something, or are you just fighting just to fight? Which is like totally cool too. But then again, why would you not go to another promotion where you can be like featured? Why don't you go to the PFL? You know what I'm saying? And be like, all right, obviously they're under UFC contract, all that. UFC is where people want to be, I guess. Do you have any take on that? What do you think, brother?
Yeah, it's like, do you want to be a C-level fighter in the NBA or a C-level player in the NBA, or go across to the European division to be a star, where still nobody knows you either way? I don't know. That's hard. Honestly, I'd rather take the NBA. To be honest, I'd rather be in the top division, the top peak, no matter what. Even if you're just cashing paychecks on the bench, oh well, that's what I guess. But at the same point, I'd also rather play. So that's hard, man. It's a bunch of what ifs over here, Derek.
Exactly. And I'm with you right here. So let's break it down, my man. Felicia Spencer, she's very experienced against some of the UFC's best. Vast array of kicks from her Taekwondo background, you know what I mean? She's kind of a slow fighter even for the division. She's kind of slow. Rudimentary boxing, you know, we've seen that time and time again. Her kicks are much better than her hands. But at the end of the day, she has good clinch work. You know what I mean? She does follow her opponents a little bit, but she can get you to the ground. She can ground and pound you. That's really the keys to victory, man. She's going to kick you from afar, keep you at range, get in close. It's like, and I love that because I don't like the in-between fighters. You're either all in or you're all out. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. Leah Letson, she likes that lead leg calf kick, which I'm a fan of. She has a nasty roundhouse kick, man. She got a finish in that in her Invicta debut. A beautiful roundhouse just starched her opponent. Solid step in left cross. Solid clinch control against the cage. That's all we know about Letson, really. How do you see this fight going down, man? Do you think Felicia wants to stand with her? Do you think she's looking to just take her to the ground and get her, you know what I mean? Like, Letson has some good takedown defense too, but how do you see this fight playing out?
Yeah, I see this fight playing down by Felicia Spencer being the bully, leading off with the kicks, kind of starting a little slow, filling it out, playing the cards, and then once she sees her openings, really going for either the clinch game or the ground game. She's very, very strong in both of those aspects of her game, and she almost prefers it a little more. She likes the kicks. Obviously, that Taekwondo background is still there, but when other people, especially in the division, are better kickers, it's kind of hard to keep up, you know? So I do think that Felicia Spencer is going to be the one on the front foot, being the bully in this fight, letting Leah Letson kind of feel that deep water, feel that pressure of the UFC again. And as far as Letson, the biggest thing I had for her is she has a very powerful left hand, but she's very much a dog. Like she's very willing. She's game to fight. I mean, obviously coming off of a three-year hiatus, coming back and fighting a pro like Felicia Spencer, one of the top in the division, you got to have some dog in you, and she's willing to eat one to give one back. That's why I like Letson. So in this matchup, you know, don't counter out like the odds makers are doing, -300 to 240. Like, don't counter out entirely. She has a puncher's chance. She can get things done. She's very powerful, keeps that pressure, has smooth combos, but I think Felicia Spencer is going to be the more talented, well-rounded, and well-versed opponent in this one.
No, I hear you on that one, man. And Letson, in her fight against Macy Chasson, she ate some nasty knees to the body, ended up getting finished, right? But Uncle Dana, he was sitting there cage side, and she was over there crying, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry." And that to me, and Dana White, he was like, "Bro, like, chill. You fought great, man. Like, I've seen some of the best get finished with those. Like, don't even trip." But she was so down on herself on that one. It only spoke to me. That's what I love to see, the accountability. She wasn't blaming nobody else. She says, "I failed. I was supposed to deliver. I'm sorry. I was supposed to put on a show." That's the dog in her right there that's saying, like, I'm coming to get it. And AJ, she is very much kind of like a Miranda Maverick of the, another iteration of that. Not necessarily in fight style, but in the other statistics that she got going on, my man. Check this out. So this is a small picture, but I'll read it out for you. This is a get to know Leah Letson in her Invicta debut, right? One, she rides a motorcycle. That's totally great, man. That's an interesting stat to put up there. Has 2 college degrees, so clearly, I mean, fighting for the love of fighting. And she is a surveillance tech for Wisconsin, the Air Naval Guard, I believe that's what it says, or something like that. Here, let me pull it and make it just a little bigger so I can read that thing. National Guard, there we go. Surveillance tech for Wisconsin Air National Guard, my man. So she got a lot of things going for her, my man. So does any of that stuff worry you, AJ? And I say this not even to be obnoxious here, not even to be condescending here, but I sometimes wonder when you have all these other things going on, all these other paths to having a decent life and career and success outside of fighting, sometimes you're not as motivated to get that dub the same way that someone's like, this is my life. Fighting pays my bills. If I lose, I go home with half a paycheck. This ain't it. Then again, she hasn't fought in 3 years. So just give me that, and then we'll give our picks on this.
Yeah, it does make me a little worried because you don't fight unless you absolutely have to. That's the majority of us. The rule one in self-defense is if you can run away, run away. Yeah. Like you don't fight. It's not what it is. And then the fighters that have to, that they're actually making the paycheck, that's what it is. And then you fight for the love of the actual fighting and getting down once you have to, and you really have no other choice. So when those other ones are there, we've seen with absolute killers like Conor McGregor, he's looking amazing while he's still hungry. You get fed a little bit and then you're like, yeah, you know what? All right, whatever. I got whiskey. I got all this. I got all that. It does worry me a little bit for Letson, but again, we don't really know her why and why she's doing this. Mm-hmm. So if that comes to play and that dog comes out to eat, she can easily get it done. I would not be surprised to see her with a KO, like one of those random Felicia Spencer gets caught with a KO, like something crazy like that. Wouldn't be surprised. But I'm just going to go ahead and give you my pick right now, Derek. I'm going Spencer by decision because I do think that she's just going to be the more well-rounded fighter, get things done more often. But like I said, wouldn't be surprised to see Letson get that KO if she does.
So, AJ, I will say I will be very surprised to see Letson get a KO. And the reason why is because there's no way you can go 5 rounds with Amanda Nunes and Cyborg. They don't knock you out or even hurt you, and you get knocked out by someone who hasn't fought in 3 years. I'd be very surprised. I'd be very shocked. But just like in the PFL, AJ, they have this thing called showcase bouts. You know, it's not their championship title bouts. It's showcase bouts. This is a showcase bout for Felicia Spencer. This is a, hey, put somebody on notice right now. Finish her. Get her out of there. If she does not do that, I think Felicia Spencer takes a little bit of a step back in terms of her popularity, her momentum, even in this non-existent division that we have here. So I'm going Felicia Spencer for the dub. I think she gets it done in 2. I think she's going to ground and pound her for the finish. I think if she's smart, she puts on a show and she does not leave it to the judges because, once again, man, how do you look 5 rounds with some of the best to do it and then someone coming off the couch 3 years inactive? What are we talking about? So I'm going Felicia Spencer, AJ. The over-under on this one is 2.5 rounds, minus 240 for the over. Under is plus 190. So it looks like the odds makers agree, brother. So with that being said, my man, that was the one bout in this main card, which I was really like, okay, gotcha. This could be a prelim fight, honestly. There's better prelim fights that should be on the main card than this one. No disrespect. Both very talented fighters. They step into the cage, you got to respect them. Enough said.